What do we got?
Christmas come early.
Secretary Cleary?
The Secretary of the Treasury, the guy you love since business school. It's the Clearys. They're an American institution. There is no room for error.
My family and a few friends were all going back to our little place on the shore, and it would be so great if you guys came.
Yeah, actually, we started dating while we were doing Habitat for Humanity.
Pretty soon, we'll be getting married.
Once Claire and Zach tie the knot, two of the great American families, the Clearys and the Lodges, will finally unite.
So, how do you know the groom?
We are Uncle Ned's kids.
Uncle Ned. How is everybody?
Well, Dad kind of putters around the house. Aunt Liz sends her best. She couldn't make it.
Yeah, I know. She's dead.
I saw you on the dance floor. You moved pretty good.
I need you to get some dirt on these two guys, John and Jeremy Ryan. They're brothers from New Hampshire.
You know, someone once told me that true love is the soul's recognition of its counterpoint in another. And I think that that's a very rare thing in this world.
There's something not right about these guys.
You're Rachel McAdams, or you might be Amy Adams. I know you're not Isla Fisher, because she's already in this movie. No, you're Rachel McAdams, and your fiancé is Bradley Cooper. Not bad, right? So a little about Mr. Cooper. You met him while volunteering for Habitat for Humanity. He used to be the president of the Environmental Defense League, and he's currently studying under the Dalai Lama. Also, he hates women and constantly cheats on you and is verbally abusive. But a new challenger has appeared, Owen Wilson. Now, Owen is a lawyer in DC. He gets along great with your father, and he's got jokes. Also, he's a con man, sexual predator, alcoholic, willing to lie about his ethnicity and religion, and is guilty of stolen valor. In fact, he lied about his identity to you until your fiancé figured it out. Oh yeah, also he poisoned your fiancé in front of your family. So, who do you pick? Well, the answer is obvious. Neither. They both suck. They're both dishonest and abusive, and they both feel entitled to you. But there's one thing I didn't tell you about Owen Wilson. He's the protagonist. Well, now the choice is obvious. By every measure, Owen Wilson's character is a terrible person. But he's the main character, so he has to win in the end. No matter what crimes he commits, he's guaranteed to come out the other side with the prize of a woman. But despite the fact that Owen Wilson plays a serial date rapist who almost kills the Treasury Secretary's son-in-law, this movie is generally uncontroversial. It's got a 76 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 64 on Metacritic. Not amazing, but pretty good for a movie that features count 'em, 7 on-screen instances of sexual assault played as jokes. Granted, the movie is 15 years old, it's not exactly part of the discourse any longer, but ultimately this movie was so uncontroversial because we've been told this story over and over again. Wedding Crashers is just a 21st century retelling of the American dream. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote a whole-ass novel about how the American dream is a myth. Maybe you've heard of it? And that was in 1925, so we, the royal we've known for a century that the American dream is a lie. But not for you. You're special. The American dream is no longer that anyone can make it, but that you can make it. This myth is pervasive among all our most popular stories. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, The Matrix, Hunger Games are all examples of the chosen one myth. You ever notice how the protagonist of these stories is never terribly interesting? I mean, even visually they all share the same white, masked, athletic, but not super strong look. No one's favorite character is Luke or Frodo or Harry. They're just the normal regular guys you can insert yourself into, because really, these stories are all about you. The overarching US American myth is all about how you are special, you're different, you're better than everyone else and you're gonna save the world, or find the treasure, or get the heteronormative love interest. Probably all three, to be honest. And it's not just in traditional media. Perhaps you've seen the NPC meme. I've seen this meme used by people with all kinds of political beliefs, and the whole joke is just everyone who disagrees with me is an NPC, as in non-player characters, as in characters that are not the players, as in not the protagonist. The whole joke is people who disagree with me are not the main character, obviously. Because if you are the main character, you can be worse than the villain and still get the heteronormative love interest. The rules don't apply to you. You can travel and go out to eat. You don't need to wear a mask. You're not sick, so why should you care that 250,000 people have died in this country? I mean, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Sure, you didn't follow any of the rules, but the rules don't apply to you. But this hyper-individualism, this US American exceptionalism, has a built-in paradox. If the rules don't apply to you and only you, and that's true for everyone in the country, then the rules don't really apply to anyone. But that doesn't matter. No one else matters, because they're just the NPCs populating this world. It's impossible to control what they do, so if they break the rules, let's just throw them in a cage. Why is this myth so pervasive? Well, it's really fucking convenient. If I'm responsible only for myself, then I'll never be part of the problem. I'm not a mass shooter, so we shouldn't regulate guns. I'm not sick, so we shouldn't have to wear masks. And I haven't died, so we shouldn't have to close businesses. So what if I call someone a faggot? It's just a word. Doesn't matter how many times that word's been screamed out a car at them or they've been told I hate faggots to their face. Okay, so maybe that example is a little extreme. Let's say you're dining out because the rules don't apply to you. No, let's say this is in the before times. So you're dining out and your server is very nice and attractive. You're getting along great. You have a nice rapport. You honestly wouldn't mind dating this person. So do you A, ask this person out, or B, don't do that? If you answered A, well, I should have known. You are the main character after all. No, don't harass service workers. First of all, they're paid to be nice to you. Except not really. If you're getting paid minimum wage or even less, it's kind of bullshit to expect you to be happy while your labor is being exploited. But most importantly, if you found this person nice and attractive, chances are you're not the first one to harass them at their job, which means you are now part of a pattern whether you like it or not. They're not going to remember you as the one person who harassed them oh so nicely. No, you're just another person who made them feel uncomfortable for doing their job. But by focusing only on your actions, you're able to let yourself off the hook for all the terrible systems in which you participate. I don't say the N-word, so I can't be racist. I mean, I do pay taxes into a judicial system that disproportionately incarcerates and kills black and brown folks. But that's not my choice. When I have the choice to say the N-word, I totally don't. So, not racist. Good job. And if I'm not racist, I have no responsibility to fix racism. Few would have hated to be responsible for making the world a better place. So it's no coincidence that those who benefit from the status quo love this hyper-individualism. We don't need to provide healthcare to everyone who needs it because that's not going to be you pretty soon. You keep working your 9-to-5 job for poverty wages, and soon enough, you're going to make it. And why should I want to improve the lives of everybody else, especially once I'm rich? I mean, that wouldn't be fair to me. I'm special. I worked hard and got ahead. No one should be given anything for free, except for the things I presumably got for free, because that stuff was totally necessary. But the stuff I paid for, now we can't just be giving that away for free. You know how if we forgave student loan debt, that would be totally unfair to people who don't have student loan debt anymore? No, that doesn't work. Better example. Yeah, so we shouldn't come up with a COVID vaccine because that would be unfair to all the people who have already died from COVID. In fact, why solve any problem at all? Doing so would just be unfair to the people who have experienced that problem in the past. Yeah, that's right. Everything is fine the way it is. I'm just going to keep doing me because I'm the main character. How many times have you been told it's your responsibility to recycle or avoid single-use plastics or be conscious of your energy consumption? And how many times did that come from a giant corporation? Wait, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be worried about my carbon footprint when only 100 fossil fuel producers are responsible for 70% of all carbon emissions? Now don't get me wrong, collectivism by definition requires individual commitment. You should be doing everything you can to reduce your carbon footprint. But so should the state and corporate actors who have contributed the most to the problem. The myth of hyper-individualism is certainly convenient on the individual level for allowing us to feel better about being such shitty people. But it's really convenient to the oligarchs who benefit from the status quo. Take, for example, Jeff Bezos, the finest example of the American dream. Born into the middle class, he pulled himself up by his Princeton-educated bootstraps and has been the world's richest person since 2017. Today, his net worth is estimated at over $180 billion, or roughly the GDP of Utah. What an inspiration story! And he did it all by himself. with just a little bit of help from workers in sweatshop conditions selling their labor for starvation wages. But he earned that $180 billion, and he pays taxes. His company doesn't, but he probably does. And those taxes help pay for food stamps, which in turn feed the employees that he refuses to pay a living wage. What a noble citizen. And what about Mark Zuckerberg, another American success story? He was just a lowly Harvard undergrad when he wrote the software that would earn him his $100 billion. I mean, it was software to compare the attractiveness of college-age women, but he earned his money? Never mind that Zuckerberg has as much political power as a small nation. Facebook alone has 2.7 billion active users and operates in 111 languages. But why not let one person have all that power? I mean, he earned it. And it's not like he exploits labor. I mean, he gave $52 million to the 11,000 contractors who get paid to watch the most vile content that gets reported. Just imagine the worst thing you've ever seen on Facebook, and then imagine it's your job to watch that stuff for 40 hours a week.
Every day you will see things that shock you, traumatizing stuff. Beheadings, child pornography, animal abuse.
Granted, one contractor didn't get compensated because he died from a heart attack at his desk. So yeah, a real fucking inspiration story. These men who have more money than you could literally even conceive of, they're not inspirations. They're not heroes. They are the villains of real life, and the story they tell us over and over again is that we can be one of them if we try hard enough.
There are a lot of things that you can be given, but those things can confuse you because they're not the things that construct your life. It's your choices that construct your life.
And if you don't make it, well, you probably just didn't try hard enough. I mean, sure, you could be working 2 jobs and still not be able to feed your family, but just work harder? This is the myth we're fed by the Secretary Clearys of the world. Consider that about half the country is angry at the idea of business shutdowns because how will they feed their family? And they're right, how will they feed their family if they can't work? But let's stop and think about that for a minute. The question we're asking is how will they keep their family alive if they can't sell their labor for money? A concept we made up. Now what if, imagine for a second, you deserve to live whether or not you sold your labor?
Wow.
And don't tell me we can't afford to support our own people. The federal government spends plenty of money on things that they like. For example, military spending. In 2019, the United States spent $732 billion, which is $471 billion more than China. Now, let's take that $471 billion and redistribute it to every household in the US. That would be an additional $3,933 every year to your household. But not everyone needs an additional $4,000 a year. So instead, we could take that $471 billion and redistribute it to every person living in poverty. That would be more than $13,000 to each and every person living in poverty in the US. That kind of money would literally save lives, which is the alleged mission statement of the military that your taxes pay for. I'm not saying these are the specific policies we need to enact. I'm just saying the money is there. But I need to confess something. I've been lying to you this whole time. You're not special. You're not going to be the next Jeff Bezos because you're not the protagonist. But guess what? In this world, there are a lot more NPCs than protagonists. So you should get mad that the government is forcing businesses to close. But not because you want to work, because you need to work. Because the government shutting down businesses is the same government that established an economy wherein your ability to sell your labor is directly tied to your ability to live. Like, your inalienable right to life. You've got to earn that. So yeah, let's close businesses and keep people safe. But let's also send everyone some money so they can buy food and shelter and medicine and whatever humans need to survive. Because you may not be Jeff Bezos or Owen Wilson, but you still deserve to survive.
Now, if we can just get Congress not to be so short-sighted.
Yes! Well done, short-sighted.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching that video. I hope you liked it. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. Check me out on Patreon. Search for Chris_A. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.